Logan Paul begins the show, and this was set up earlier in the day. Well, they had done the Logan Paul Roman Reigns interview on Logan Paul's podcast this week, Impulsive. Have you ever listened to Impulsive?
I might have listened to somebody, like a wrestler, on it, but beyond that, no, I don't think so.
So he had Roman Reigns on, and then afterwards tweeted how, I guess if he could have one match, he could beat Roman Reigns, something to that effect. So they did a whole thing on Twitter throughout the week, and it led to Logan Paul being invited by Paul Levesque to come on SmackDown, and he would have a massive announcement. And it was Dave Meltzer first reporting that it will be Logan Paul against Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia on November the 5th. So this is all going to be set up at this press conference that's going down Saturday afternoon. But getting into the actual segment, Logan Paul comes out, and Cole says that Logan Paul has balls, and he shows the tweets of Logan wanting to face Roman Reigns, and Logan Paul is booed by this crowd. I will say this. I don't think this program is as contingent on strong babyface, strong heel. I think they look at it. These are two big personalities. Mm-hmm. But if Logan Paul is trying to project a babyface image, he's terrible at it. Like, he's got the toothpick. He just looks like an asshole. And that's fine. That's not the worst thing in the world. He projects it very well. But it's just, he's so unlikable. And this audience, like, they're not with him. But all the, like, Ricochet coming out to, like, back up Logan Paul and stuff, like, they are positioning him as the babyface. But again, I don't think it really matters. This is a unique program where I think it's two big stars that are going to have a match. And I overall thought this segment was very good.
The toothpick is a questionable choice. And, he had it in his hand. He had it in his mouth pretty much like throughout the entire segment. So it's at least something that you would imagine that he put a lot of thought into. Maybe he's thinking Razor Ramon, but I don't necessarily think it's coming across that way. It is coming across a bit more heelish. Maybe he's looking for something that just kind of, sets him apart. Maybe it's a comfort thing, like a blanket for a little baby or something. But beyond that, I would actually contend that he's actually doing a pretty decent job of being a babyface. He just comes with so much baggage with his name, and I think his reputation, that it sort of precedes him, despite, I think, how he actually acts in ring. If he was beloved, coming into this for his prior career, I think the reception would be very different, because I think the performance itself was perfectly fine.
So he is booed, and he says he does have a habit of opening his mouth and saying stupid things. And he starts getting the what chants, which was hilarious, because Roman explained what the what chants were to him in the interview. Logan was not familiar with these what chants in this podcast interview. So Roman is explaining what they are and how you can control them based on your cadence and changing up your promo style to not invite them. So he starts getting the what chants, and his way to combat is, I'll tell you what, which is the second best attempt behind the great Hulk Hogan, who had the most hilarious attempt when he came out. This is right after the NWO was brought in, and that it was the night that he sets up the match with The Rock for WrestleMania, and he's got this grand plan of how Hulk Hogan will put an end to these what chants. So as they chanted what, he would go, "What you gonna do? What you gonna do?" It was high theater at its finest. I thought it was like the funniest thing in the world to see this man who just was so convinced he had the answer, and it just bombed. It was amazing.
I think I would have stopped chanting what, just to not hear him do that.
What you gonna do?
Yeah. No, that is as legendary and iconic of a moment as I think anything Hogan's been involved with, to me at least.
I'll tell you what.
But I thought as a whole, like, Paul, I think he handled it well, showed good composure against the chants. He didn't get flustered by it.
So he says that Floyd Mayweather couldn't put him down, and then he notes, or pay me, and he looks into the camera. We're still working on it, which was very, very funny. He then set up the press conference, and if Reigns is man enough to meet him face-to-face tomorrow. And with that, it is the return of Paul Heyman, who has been off since SummerSlam when he took the F5. And he comes out with the bloodline minus Roman Reigns, but there is Solo Sikoa with his newly won North American title. And Heyman enters the ring, shaking hands with Paul, and says if there was anyone outside the WWE who could be a Paul Heyman guy, it's you, Logan Paul. He's a global sensation who stepped up to fight the greatest boxer ever and never went down. I love that Logan Paul has gotten more out of this loss to Floyd Mayweather than Mayweather ever did.
It wasn't a loss. It was technically a draw. Or it was technically like a no contest. Like they just went the time limit, right?
It was a decision.
Really?
I mean, it was an exhibition fight, as I recall.
I mean, I just looked at the record today. It said NA, so.
Well, it was an exhibition, so maybe it went down as nothing. But it was nonetheless. He did technically go to the. I mean,
we recognize that he survived.
Yes, he did survive, and then Heyman makes fun of Mayweather being short and mentions Jake Paul picking a fight with the most dangerous striker in MMA history, and says that Anderson Silva is going to knock Jake out. No disrespect. And that it's interesting too, and I wonder how much promotion there might be for that, because these are going to be a week apart. This Jake Paul fight and now Logan Paul and Roman Reigns. They will be 1 week apart from one another. And so anyway, he tells Logan not to just go pick a fight with anyone else besides Roman Reigns, and asks if he's scared that he might challenge Roman Reigns at the press conference for the title, and then says, what if I can land one lucky shot on Roman Reigns? That's all it takes. And Heyman calls on Solo Sikoa, who, after Logan Paul threatens to knock out Heyman, but then Sami Zayn enters, and this guy is beloved by this crowd. And he says the immortal words, "Oos, I got this." And says that maybe Heyman is not the right man for this job. I can handle Logan Paul, which is a great tie-in given that these two did have the connection going into Mania last year together before Logan Paul got stunned by Kevin Owens. So he walks up to Sami Zayn, and Logan Paul drills Sami Zayn, and the fans boo this. They do not want to see Sami Zayn knocked out by this guy. And Cole just says, nothing impulsive about that. And then Logan Paul is on the floor when Ricochet comes out to end the segment with his buddy Logan Paul, and that sets up Ricochet and Sami Zayn. I thought overall it was a crowd that I don't think they necessarily loved Logan Paul, but I think this set up the groundwork. I think this press conference tomorrow is a fantastic idea. You have this Canelo Triple G fight tomorrow night in Vegas. So you're probably going to get some boxing media going to check this out just out of curiosity. And you're piggybacking off of a big fight. And Roman Reigns and Logan Paul is the kind of match you make for Saudi Arabia. Like your crazy, random opponent match.
It's the type of match you make for a wrestling audience that doesn't typically watch wrestling. It's the type of match you make, for people that might be interested in Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva, who don't typically watch boxing or MMA. I think it's brilliant. And I think everything that they're doing right now with Logan, including the press conference tomorrow, shows, I think, an awareness of what is working right now in the combat sports space. What wonderful sort of gift you have with the attachment of a Logan Paul to your product. What he could bring, what his brother has brought, to I don't know, many people who don't typically watch combat sports. This build really has come out of nowhere, at least, on professional wrestling TV. Watching it, you'd have no indication that Logan Paul was headed to this direction, nor Roman Reigns, but, didn't need much. He had to be honest. He got on his podcast, exchanged some tweets, matches made. And this segment was more than enough to kind of announce it and to cement it. I thought with Logan Paul, they, of course, have an uphill battle anytime you're trying to portray him as a babyface, but especially now. If he had trouble getting booed against, or getting cheered against The Miz, forget about it with the Bloodline, who at this point are very much, pretty much like babyfaces because they're so beloved by everybody, especially Sami Zayn. But I think if you're going to at least make the attempt, they are at least doing what they probably should have been doing from the get-go, and that's giving Paul credibility by continuing to remind everybody about the Floyd Mayweather survival, let's just call it, publicizing, I think, his biggest combat sports accomplishment. You had Heyman here continue to put it over. It's a good match to make for business. you know?
It's also like the fact that they brought up Jake Paul and Anderson Silva. It'll be interesting because, you know, like with Jake Paul, like it's been noted, like some of his most recent fights, like they have not been, you know, as large as past ones. That I honestly believe, like this for a while, you've kind of looked at Jake Paul getting like all of the attention and such. This is one where I think Jake Paul and Anderson Silva getting any attachment to WWE programming right now through this actually helps them a bit for their pay-per-view. And I do wonder if this was just a one-off line, or if they'll kind of work that fight into the promotion at all. If they are continually dropping Jake Paul's name.
Yeah, it's helpful for them, I'm sure. I think it's also ultimately helpful for the WWE just to be a part of a greater conversation beyond, you know, the limits of professional wrestling and professional wrestling fandom.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. This to me is like, it's a very smart promotion, and doing it this weekend when you have one of, if not the biggest boxing fights of the year with Canelo and Triple G, doing this in Vegas. I think it's a smart way to go about this. And again, I think the audience will look at like Roman and Logan. It's like, I don't think they're too concerned about, okay, Roman gets cheered, Logan gets booed.
No,
I think in Saudi Arabia, I think that it's going to be an electric atmosphere. And I think that like Logan Paul, like we saw what he did with The Miz, and imagine what kind of match he's going to have with Roman Reigns. Like, I think the match, I'm not too worried about the match at all.
Me neither. Like Logan Paul has shown enough that, you know, this is not an automatic turnoff. In fact, I'm actually quite curious to see like what sort of match, how good of a match these two can actually have.
Yeah, it would be interesting if they were envisioning Tyson Fury being in this role.
This is much bigger, to me at least. You know, I mean, again, I'm not really that much in boxing circles, and internationally, I can't necessarily say like which one might make a bigger difference, but I have a feeling it might be Logan Paul.
Tyson Fury is pretty big. I think that one would be big, but I think this one as well. Like for this audience, like I think that there will be, this one is in the promotion very much. It'll be interesting to see what attention this press conference gets tomorrow.
This will be the better match too.
This will be the better match, guaranteed, than Roman Reigns and a theoretical match with Roman Reigns would have been.